As it cools down here in the Southern Hemisphere, Facebook starts filling up with people complaining religiously about how cold it is and just whinging that they want to be out there sunbathing and they can't wait for summer to come back around. However, there is a handful of people, just like myself, that absolutely love when winter comes around because it means we get to go skiing. So with that in mind, this year in August, I am taking a group of business owners from trade backgrounds across to Wanaka in New Zealand, and we're running the first ever Learn and Ski program, which is a program we put together to basically help people, business owners, tradies, whoever, people that want to get away and go down to the snow, but they sometimes struggle justifying that time and that cost. So what we're doing is we're running this program, which is a complete tax deduction. It is a workshop in the afternoon. We're skiing in the mornings, and we go into a workshop, and then we get to hang out and socialize in the evening. So it's going to be a really cool program, and we cannot wait for it to come around. It cannot come soon enough. So if that interests you, head across to thesiteshed.com/events where you'll be able to find a link to that. Anyway, it'll be a load of fun, so I hope you can join us. Hello and welcome back to Toolbox Talks. My name is Matt Jones, and you are joining us today in either episode 1, 2, or 3 of the Powering Your Business with the 7 Power Contractor Approach series that we're doing with the one and only Mr. Al Levi from Appleseed Business. Al's located in the USA, and he is the accomplished author of the 7 Power Contractor, which he wrote as a basically, it's kind of like a memoir of his experience in, owning and growing a successful business in New York. And now Al is a business consultant who works with trade-based organizations all over North America. Anyway, I know you're going to absolutely love this series. In episode 1, we're talking about planning power. In episode 2, we're talking about operating power. And then in the final episode, we're talking about staffing power. And they are all full to the brim of some absolute nuggets, so you're going to love it. Anyway, if you do enjoy it, please leave us some comments in the show notes, or better still, head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and you can leave us an amazing 5-star review. That's all from me. Enjoy.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello and welcome back to Toolbox Talks. My name is Matt Jones, and you are joining me with my co-host, Al Levi from Appleseed Business. Al is all the way from the US of A, and we are talking in this series, which is called Powering Your Business with the 7 Power Contractor Approach. Al, welcome back to the microphone.
Thank you so much. And actually, because I live in Arizona now, which for the States is the Wild West, I would say howdy. And if I was living in my old neighborhood, New York, we'd go, "Hey, yo, Matt, how you doing?"
Yeah. So it's howdy or how you doing, eh?
How you doing? You have to say it like that.
So for the listeners out there, if you missed the first episode, this is episode 2. However, if you missed the first episode, Al was giving us some amazing content there in the space of planning power and, creating master project lists within your organization and basically setting strategy as to, like giving you a roadmap of where you need to head. It was a really good episode. If you didn't hear it, I thoroughly encourage you to go back and listen to that, because it obviously, this episode segues straight into that. Now, in this episode, we're talking about operating power. Al, what are we talking about in operating power?
Operating power is the written policies and procedures that it takes to run your company. Mm-hmm. And we're not talking about everything you do and every policy and every procedure you have. That just imagine a book that would be from the bottom of the floor to the top of the ceiling or 100 stories big. We're not doing that. What we're trying to cover is if we can get the day-to-day stuff that tends to derail us or we just can't do uniformly, get 80% of that, the 80% covered in the written policies and procedures. That's what we're really after.
What kind of company needs procedures?
Every company needs a procedure. So let me say that a little slower. Every company needs written procedures. And the joke of it is, so an owner-operator thinks, well, it's just me. Well, here's the news. It will always be just you.
Oh, my God. You stole that from me.
Oh, I did?
That's a Matt Jones quote.
How's when you list your site thing and I can listen to any of your stuff? See? The power of the internet. Yeah, it's okay. If you really want to work by your own self, be my guest. But just my feeling from the side here is I have so many friends, so many people that do it. It's great to be your own boss and do the rest of it. But God forbid you get sick or you want to retire, you age. It's just tough. So even if I wanted to help you, I can't. I can't help you, Matt. You're the owner operator, and you want some help. How can I help you if I don't know how to do it the Matt Jones way, the site shed plumbing, heating, cooling way, right?
Yeah.
You got to have written policies and procedures. Now, what happens typically when I come in for consulting one-to-one, the company is small and they know they've hit the ceiling. They can't grow any bigger because there's only so much word of mouth. There's only so much finding them in the field and trying to fix stuff, which is always painful for everybody, for the customer, the company, and yourself, and the staff. So having written policies and procedures, this is not like law book stuff, like Article 1, Section 2. You know what I'm talking about? Have you ever read some of those contracts? Makes your eyes cross. That is not what I'm talking about.
Right.
This is just plain English. And we get together and we talk about, hey, what's the best way to do a toilet reset? What's the best way if we come across an air conditioner it's all frozen up? What's the best way, to address a water main that valve that needs to be replaced?
Yeah.
And hopefully some of these hit, or we have a electrical service that needs to be replaced. And here's the essence of it. So let's just say you have a great company, Matt. You're a great marketer, that I know. But so you're a great marketer and you can generate calls. The problem is, it doesn't matter how many calls you have, if you can't make great texts go out and maximize those, right? You know what I mean?
100%. And
you need the technicians.
You know what's really fun? It's not funny, but this is something that I'm sure you would be very, very familiar with as an objection. And I'm just going to throw it out there because I get this all the time. Because we do try and help companies implement systems and processes into the way they run. And one of the big objections that we get from trade-based organizations is, I am my business. Without me, the business doesn't exist. And my answer to that is pretty much exactly what you just said before. You're 100% right. It will always be you unless you put some sort of systems in place to remove you from the equation. It's always the same argument.
Yeah, and that was, you're spot on. There's no other way to say it. And I hope they understand it, but I will tell you that I was living that, what you just said. There was no way that I could have ever exited my company without enormous pain. Same thing goes, one of my brothers, it was a 3-legged stool. You pull one of those legs out, the stool's not a stool anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So even if you have 3 people, well, you got a little more protection, but not for what you need. So if you can't replicate yourself in a systematic way and download all this great stuff that's in your head, you're setting your own sabotage and you just don't know it.
Yeah.
Because time's going to run out on you. Your options are going to run out on you.
One of the easier ways that we've managed to help a few companies lately do it, because it is a big segue when you go from saying, okay, well, listen, you're obviously out there doing these things every day. However, we need to start documenting this, because if we can document what you're doing today, day to day in your operations, what we're effectively doing is turning intellectual knowledge into intellectual property. So we're taking it out of your head, we're putting it on paper, and with that paper, we can then train other people to do these tasks. So you can remove yourself from that specific task and you can focus more on what it is you should actually be doing. So one of the things that have been able to implement to help tradies achieve that is programs like job management and project management. And although it's not exactly 100%, system creation, what it is doing is it's sort of systemizing the business in the space of putting some structure around taking jobs, sending technicians to jobs, taking notes on jobs, storing customer details, building a database, doing that kind of stuff. So it's not directly us. It's not like we're not talking about creating hardcore systems here, but it is systemizing a certain area of the business, which is very powerful for a lot of our guys. Do you have a similar sort of thing happening over there?
And my feeling is it doesn't matter where you start to eat the elephant, just that you eat the elephant a bite at a time. So if that's the case, my approach is, because I am, here's the deal. I was really good at sales, and my team was really good at blowing up the really good sales I made. It is why I became this guy. It wasn't like I was born and go, oh, wow, you mean I get to document how this company runs from the how you answer the phone, how you dispatch, how tech does everything. We set up from the time he wakes up till he goes to bed, other than turning the wrench, and then how to do plumbing right, how to do heating right, cooling, air conditioning, electrical. You had it. I've worked on roofing. I've helped a photography company work. I've worked with a condo building association, because businesses are not that different. We love to think of our contracting business. Oh, this is so much different.
Oh, yeah.
I've worked with a kitchen and bath company up in Canada that does design, they build it, they install it. And they're like shocked. It's not that difficult. Here's what's difficult. And the scenario that you described, and this is what most of us as owners, what made us great isn't necessarily what's going to make us move to the next level up.
Right.
So when you run into that, where they tell you that this place would fall apart without them, they're right, because they've structured this wrong. They've got a really good building on top of a really crappy foundation.
Exactly.
And that is the essence of it. But the bigger one, the sneaky one, which I don't want to get too sidetracked, because I was guilty of this. I, as an owner, like the following three things. I was the only one who could ride in and do the rescue, even though I hated it. I was the only one that could put out the fire that everybody else created, even though I hated it. And here's the last one. I like being the guru. You don't know something, Matt? Come see me, because you know what? I know how to do this.
Yeah.
I'm so smart. You're not. Now, if you take it away emotion, which is impossible as a human being, you understand how faulty that logic is. So unless you address it with people, and I'm speaking to your listeners as well as talking to Matt, unless you take a good hard look in the mirror right now and ask yourself, are you in love with being a rescuer, a fireman, and a guru? Because if you are, you will not do what I'm preaching here today, which is learning how to get operating power. Because operating power allows other people to come and help you, to build a career, to empower them, to make a better life for your customer first, company second, for themselves, and then you, all in the right order. You see that this is not some dry, miserable subject that I'm asking you like I'm trying to take your teeth out. This was the key, one of the key building blocks that set us free. Because it wasn't me, it was us as a group coming together and go, okay, how do we do a tune-up? Pretty much the same way. And if you do these steps and there's an issue, call me. There isn't one procedure that's longer than a page, Matt.
Yeah.
In the volumes that I've written. Because if it's longer than a page, it's worthless.
Yeah.
So we learn how to do it the right way. Here's the part that guys are missing. It's buy-in, which is we get to talk about it and we say, here's the best way that we think to do this. It's not done till all of us agree. Now, the only thing that has to happen is you got to give me a better, cheaper, faster way than what we have right here on paper. Because if you do, and we all agree, I'm going back to my Word doc. I'm going to change it. We're going to hand out this sheet instead of what's here. If not, we all agree to play.
I love that, because I think there's such a myth out there that, systems are there to be improved. And just because you're reading something on paper, it might look completely stupid to you. And the reality is it may well be completely stupid. There might be much better ways to do it. And hopefully there are better ways to do it. So the idea of a system is not that you need to be following some archaic method. It's so that you can look at it, you can improve it, you can improvise, and then you can, adapt and make it better.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, where people get sidetracked in this process, is they're waiting for the perfect policy and procedure in writing. Something that will magically never go wrong again.
Right.
Get over yourself. Never going to happen. Here's what I promise you. If you cover the 80% and people get a chance to put their fingerprints on it, and we all agree on this is how we play, we roll it out in meetings, and then we hold people accountable to what they said yes to, because without accountability, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Your life and their life and your customer's life will get better. Now, that's where buy-in comes from. Because if you're going to kind of shove it down their throat, it's not going to stick. It's what I've talked about in the past, which is I can make you climb any mountain, Matt. Just give me a big enough stick and I will hit you hard enough that you will climb the mountain. And as soon as I stop hitting you, down twice as fast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this isn't what the manuals, actually, I was in a union shop. I don't know if you guys know what union shops are, but there was a union to protect the guys at our company. And from management, we had a shop steward who was there, and we had manuals, and they voted it into the contract because they knew it empowered them, protected them, and it helped them build a career where they didn't get sabotaged. The problem also is a lot of people go, well, it depends as you're writing projects. Or, each case is a little different. You follow how they're starting to wiggle their way off actually documenting it. When you leave it subjective and not objective, so that you can always go, that's not what I meant. Well, then people go, well, screw it. I'm not just going to do this. What's the power to this? So the hardest thing is you have to agree, today, this is how we're going to do it. And at the end, if you don't like the results, we all agree, let's get together and we'll change it. But for today, you, Matt, followed the procedure. You're off the hook. Matter of fact, what spread around my company was one of the fellows of the company, Bobby, he had a line that everybody bought into, which is, do what's in the book, you're off the hook. And that was like a good way.
Yeah, Bobby. So can you just give us a quick example of objective versus subjective?
Yes. I'd say like the first place, which for me is, if you can't get dressed right, what else can't you do? We're always looking for can you fix plumbing? Can you fix air conditioning? Well, how about just getting dressed right?
Yeah.
So what I think is dressed right versus what you think is dressed right is always subjective because it's opinion based. But if I say that, it's a button down shirt, has to be tucked into your pants, the top button only can be open, the sleeves have to be rolled down, you have to wear a black belt, you have to wear the uniform pants, black shoes have to be no holes shined. Now you can understand how objective this language is. Are you starting to see it in your mind's eye?
Yes, very much.
So when you walk in the office tomorrow, Matt, and there's 3 buttons open and you have a giant gold medallion and the shirt's untucked.
Hey, we're not in New York now, mate.
I'm going to drag you in. I'm going to drag you in to the office. I'm going to open up to the technician counter and I'm going to say, Matt, read for me what it says here. And you're going to read it out loud. And a lot of the times in this, believe it or not, it's self-correcting.
Yeah.
And so what I said is, okay, Matt, there's 4 steps of corrective action. Today was our discussion. Next time I'm writing you up, keep on going. There's going to be, a suspension and a firing. And let's just ask yourself this. There's more and higher positions coming up on the org chart. The way you're showing me today and the way you're dressing is not showing me that you're looking to build a career here. Yeah. So it's up to you. And the door opens. What are we going to do?
Okay. So then in that instance, say we've got a uniform, what am I looking for? A procedure and that's been written and a policy that's in place and it's been in there. It's been there for, 10 years. And obviously times change, things change, looks change. How do you address that in the space of, okay, well, look, I think it's time to review this policy. Can we have a bit of a meeting and put our heads together and make us look like a bit of a more modern business? How do you address that?
Well, you are reading from the same imaginary book.
Right.
Because if you think you can write these policies and procedures, even if you got everybody to agree, and that they're magically going to stick in the culture of your company, so I don't come to your shop for a year later and I think I'm going to see this company living by these manuals that you created, the answer is no.
Yeah. So
every week, everybody's in a meeting and we've rolled out the manuals completely and we agreed this is the way to play. Every week from there on out, if you've got 150 pages, because it covers, employer, employee, covers technician, what you do from the time you wake up to go to bed, and let's say a plumbing chapter or a heating chapter, cooling, electric, whatever trade you're in, I'm going to have us read a page or 2 at every meeting once a week. And that is the only way, long-term, to keep it fresh and to keep it in the culture. 2 things. So it should never go out of date.
Okay.
Because you're always on top.
So we're literally, so in that scenario, 150 odd policies that are in place, we're sitting there in each meeting and we would go through every week we might go read through 2 existing policies, and the following week we might go read through another following 2, and then another 2, and then another 2, until we sort of got all the way through them. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, and then just like I hate to quote the Bible, but you start over again.
Okay, yeah.
Because by the time you get starting over, but that's why it's not the first way when you've got these manuals created or you're in the process of creating it collaboratively. You have to have weekly rollout meetings, and those are intense. We're not just doing it 1 or 2 pieces. We're going to read 5 to 10 to 20 pages, never more than 20 pages, and never more than 2 hours. You're wasting your time. You're not going to get it stuck. You're just going to take a rubber ball, throw it against the wall, and watch how fast it's coming back at your head.
Yeah.
So the idea is not stuff out. The idea is to get it out, get buy-in, and get it stuck in the culture in the best way possible.
Yeah.
That's really what you need to do.
And in that initial rollout stage of a business, then so if we're reading 10, 15, 20 policies, per week, in the initial stages, what are we using to make sure that people are actually A, absorbing that information, B, buying into it, and C, implementing? Like, what sort of strategy do we have in place there to make sure that's all getting done?
Okay. Well, I think the first part which needs to be addressed is, now we've all created this and we're reading it, let's say, for the first time, and they're doing 5 to 10, 20 pages. So envision a round table.
Yeah.
This isn't you in the front of the classroom and they're down there.
Yeah.
So it's collaborative.
Yeah.
I call you, Matt, stand up and read what it says about uniform policy. And I have you read it. And here's the reason I have you read it, Matt, because the only words that any of us, everyone on this call today, really listens to are the words that leave our lips.
Yeah,
Let me repeat that. The only words we listen to are the words that leave our lips. So until I say it, I don't really hear it. And when I'm saying it, before I sit down, and I look at you and go, so Matt, what's one thing I should take away about uniform policy? And you go, always tuck in your shirt, or always leave just the top button. Then we know, okay, thumbs up, we got that in.
Uh-huh.
You follow?
Gotcha.
And then we go around the table and get the next one. So it's really pages, because not everything is a full page. Some of these are relatively short. You might sometimes have 3 procedures and policies. So it's the rule of thumb the first time you're ruling it out, and take it as a rule of thumb. Your goal is to get 10 to 20 pages rolled out in a 2-hour session. And the reason people go, well, we could read a lot faster than that. And my point is, it's not how fast you read it, it's how fast it gets in. Sometimes people are really into it. They love it because we finally have defined this. And I no longer have Matt and Al on my neck every time I do something I thought was right. They come around and tell me it wasn't. Well, okay, well, now I know, hey, you know what? I did what it says here. And I am off the hook. So they grab hold of it. But there are some shops where this is contentious to start with. And that's where the owner and the managers have to have some resolve. They will get with it if they understand why it's for them. And that's like all things. What's in it for me? But right now, they are subject to every whim and everything that you do. And they have no way to help you. They have no way to make more money. They have no way to do anything. They couldn't, suppose they were really good, and now you have your company's growing and you're adding more techs, and there would be a position where they would become a lead technician or a field supervisor and run a crew. How would they do that? How could they judge 10 to 20 people at your company different than the same way that I would judge it or you would? They can't. It's subjective. And the only way you begin to change subjective into objective is by doing this. Written policies and procedures and planing that people get to buy in. We roll it out, take the time to roll it out, and then we keep it in the culture every week, a page or 2 at a time.
I got to say, I love the way that it's all tied back at the end of the day to, helping the technician get to, help a bit closer to something they want to achieve. I think that's a big fallback in modern business, not even just trade related, but in business in general. It's so often about making money for the company and, doing all this stuff. At the end of the day, it means nothing to the technician. Then it's not relatable. I mean, I've worked in organizations like that. It's, it sort of came down at the end of the day to, when the boss is going to buy his next boat. I couldn't care less.
I was laughing, but it was like a vision of a bunch of companies that just streamed past my head as you said that, because I've seen that culture. I've seen that culture, and what you're describing is an us versus them culture. And for companies that are built to last, that generally doesn't work because there's a corruptive feeling at the essence of it. Here's what's really cool. By collaborative planning power, which we talked about, and collaborative operating power, and more of the staffing power and the rest of it, people will, and especially when they get to Ellen's financial power, they come to understand that making money is not an evil thing. Making money is a good thing if we have done the first thing. And the first thing is always serve the customers better than anybody else can.
Yeah.
What you do with your money is something different.
Yeah. Al, you're an absolute genius. I'm loving these episodes. This is a cracking series. I think we're pretty much close to wrapping Operating Power up. Is there anything you wanted to add?
I think starting with what's in it for me. So if you're that owner, like the one you described, Matt, so perfectly about, this place falls apart without me and all of the things we talked about, my suggestion is, go home, stand in front of the mirror and ask yourself, is that what you want? And how are you contributing to this? And having been that person, I can say that's not true. So if you want your life back, you, Mr. Owner Contractor, if you don't want to be awakened every night by your people that are on handling calls because they don't know what to do and they don't know how to handle it and they're afraid if they make a decision, you're going to take their head off because there's nothing objective and they're always getting whipsawed by two different opinions, two different owners, two different managers. By creating documented written policies and procedures for how you do your bookkeeping, AR, accounts receivable, accounts payable, answering the phones, dispatching, text, it is so great when the team pulls together and you make this come to life. This is one of those 7 building blocks, which is 7 Power Contractor.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, and I suppose the takeaway for me there is just, systems and processes, although they may be a bit of a drag to create, at the end of the day, they are there to free you up. So when you're looking at, I suppose, removing yourself from, areas of your business that you should not be working in, the only way you're going to do that is by building systems that people can follow to relieve you. And the other thing, of course, is, if you're looking at a stage of business where you're hoping that one day it may potentially be acquired by another company, typically in an acquisition scenario, your people are going to be buying, either a combination of or one of the two things. Firstly, it's the systems and processes that run your business without you being there. And secondly, it's your database. So, building policies and procedures into your business is adding value. You're creating an asset. So get out there and do it.
Absolutely. You are creating freedom, empowering everybody. There's just a million good things to it. Just got to be done the right way in the right order.
All right, awesome. Let's leave it at that. And we'll be back for the 3rd episode where we're going to be talking about staffing power. That is a wrap. So if you haven't already, head across to the siteshed.com and register for our Toolbox Talks, where you'll be regularly sent great episodes just like this straight to your inbox, so you'll never miss one. If you want to join the community, you can head across to the siteshed.com/members, where for a small monthly fee, you'll get access to regularly updated training material, as well as access to our forum where you can mingle and collaborate with trade-based business owners just like you from all over the world. If you're enjoying this podcast, please head across to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us spread the word and reach the masses. Likewise, if you know anyone that might benefit from the content we create, then please go ahead and share this with them.
You've been listening to Toolbox Talks by The Site Shed. For more great content just like this, head across to thesiteshed.com and join the amazing community of savvy trade-based business owners.